On today's episode of Work It Out with Lauri, I'm going to be discussing the dangers of praise bombing.
Ooh, that's going to be an interesting one. So join us for a brand new WBP Basics installment.
Howdy, WBP crew. Welcome to Work It Out with Lauri, the no-nonsense show for anyone navigating workplace bullying, chaos, or straight-up dysfunction. I'm Lauri Lilly, your host. I'm here to help you make sense of all the drama you're experiencing at work.
And I'm Cosmo Esplin, Sir Showrunner and your backstage guide, directly providing Lauri with your questions and workplace dilemmas so you get the practical solutions you need. So what do you say? Let's work it out. All right, welcome Substack subscribers to the premium access WBP Basics series that we're doing as part of this Work It Out with Lauri podcast. And here's your host, Lauri Lilly.
Thanks, Cosmo. Really excited to discuss today's topic.
So what is our subject of the week, Lauri?
The subject of the week is praise bombing.
I would have never known that if I hadn't listened to the coming up part. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting one, though, I think. So
for those who may not have heard the term praise bombing, this is a spin-off. And again, I don't know if this is a Lauri Lilly original. I do like to come up with new phrases, but the actual term that's out there in the universe comes from narcissistic abuse, and it's called love bombing. And love bombing is related to romantic relationships, and I am highly averse to anything where we're relating family, romantic love, did I say family, anything of that nature to the workplace. I am so against it.
So you're probably not a big fan of Michael Scott's management style then, I take it.
Yes, where he's got his romantic endeavor with what was her name, the HR gal?
Jan and Holly, and
yes,
a pseudo obsession with Ryan. So yeah, there's
he just could not find love outside of work. But all of that to say, I am so against it. That's why if you follow my posts that I send out into LinkedIn and in here on Substack, I am very much so against this idea that workplaces present themselves as a family. And I'm also...
It's a little intrusive. It's a little creepy.
Gross. And they do it for a reason. And then this idea of love bombing, it's highly relevant to the dynamics within the workplace, but I just simply cannot. That's why I use the term praise bombing. What is praise bombing? So let's get into it. Praise bombing typically happens when you start a new job. And for anyone who's onboarded into a new job, it's very common. I've experienced it, and I'm pretty sure most people have experienced it, where your leader and maybe your skip leader, peers, they're very complimentary of your work. If you lead a meeting for the first time, you're going to get an email that says, you did a fantastic job leading the group. Well done for your first time out. And there's a certain amount of praise and compliments that you're getting, right? And that's just to boost your confidence, right? That's to make you feel part of the team, that they're recognizing you, they're appreciating you, and it serves a purpose. And
it kickstarts your involvement with the organization, kind
yes.
of. Just like, let's get you running here.
Yes, it's very common. The difference between this regular set of praise or confidence-boosting compliments that you get and praise bombing is that praise bombing is aggressive. It's hardcore, and it is inappropriate. It's very purposeful. It's a form of emotional manipulation, maybe even emotional blackmail, you could say, because the idea is that you're going to bomb the person with praise, bomb them hard. Every move they make, they're going to get, you're doing a fantastic job. Keep it up. Well done. Oh my gosh. We don't know what we could have ever done in this role without you. And it's very excessive, and it's also not aligned with the activities and the deliverables that you're working on, right? So it's not like you're doing any major work that's getting this praise. It could be a simple email and someone responds with this over the top praise that's just completely excessive, and It makes you feel uncomfortable. It's too much. Praise bombing, they're doing it on purpose. Why do you think they're doing it, Cosmo?
Oh boy. Okay. So what do I get if I answer correctly? Is there a prize pot here? They're just doing it to basically signal to you that they're the good guy. They're here to help you get your sort of, I guess, approval of them so that you are basically in their circle and maybe under their thumb to a certain extent so far.
Yes, you're getting it. Yes.
And I'm not even a workplace anthropologist, so
He's not
I learned from the best.
So the idea is that anyone who's being praise bombed, what eventually is going to happen is you're in this circle now. You're feeling like you're part of the group. And usually it's one person who does the praise bombing. In other words, the bully. The bully does this praise bombing, and they do it purposefully because they're slowly going to start withdrawing the praise. And it's a very confusing time because you've been flooded with this incessant, ridiculous praise for every move you make, and they're everywhere, and they're taking you out for lunch, and you're going for walks, and they're starting to give you some of the gossip, and it's just very overwhelming, and all of a sudden, it starts to dissipate, and it can be very confusing for the person who was receiving all of that praise because they're wondering, well, wait a second. I haven't changed. I'm not doing anything different. What am I doing different? Oh, well, I'm not sure what I'm doing different, but maybe I need to work a little bit harder. Maybe I need to volunteer for things. Maybe I need to make sure that I'm really working hard directly with this person. Even if maybe they're not your direct leader or you're not working on direct projects, suddenly this person is finding themselves raising their hand to work on projects with this bully.
And the bully has kind of become like almost a babysitter at this point, it seems like.
Yeah, it's a really gross dynamic that they're setting up. And they're doing it as a form of control, right? It's a form of emotional blackmail. I'm going to give you lots and lots of praise, and you're going to be in good favor with me so long as you do everything right. So long as you work extra hard for me. So long as you do X, Y, and Z. I've seen this happen actually in real time where two people started at the same time. One person reported into a different group and the other person into this other group. This first group was very healthy. There wasn't any praise bombing. There was a normal amount of confidence boosting activities, if you know what I mean, compliments. And they felt good about their interactions.
Pretty normal dynamic.
Normal dynamic. And I worked very hard with this particular person during their onboarding. This other group, I was not involved in this other group, but this one particular person was subjected to hardcore praise bombing. We're talking hardcore. And this group was incredibly dysfunctional, filled with bullies. And it was really, really a shame to see 3-4 months in, this person who was subjected to the praise bombing, oh gosh, what this person was doing to gain favor from the bully and their flying monkeys. It was really sad to see. They withdrew the praise. And then she found herself out on an island, confused, probably a little bit scared, feeling very vulnerable. And there's that lack of confidence that comes sneaking in, like, what the heck am I doing? And now, bam, that bully has got this person under their thumb, and it's that quick and easy.
And so basically they probably notice that if they're not getting incessant praise after a certain period in time, then that's probably when they start to second guess themselves and be like, am I doing something wrong? Right. What's going on? And so then the bully can probably leverage that in order to continue this sort of emotional blackmail, like you said.
Absolutely, Cosmo, you're nailing it. And that's when the target starts working harder for that praise, for the positive reinforcement, anything that they're unable at that point to gain any favor because the bully's got him at that point. The bully has won that emotional manipulation game. That confusion takes over. The gaslighting is happening, the crazy making, and it's very hard for the target to see clearly at this point. So that's where anyone who's either joining a new organization for the first time, maybe they've gotten a promotion, they're moving to a new team. It could be a new leader is coming in, right? Any of these dynamics where you're working with someone new, very susceptible to praise bombing. And You have to know what's appropriate in terms of praise and acknowledgement and recognition of your work. It's not normal for every move you make to be, oh my gosh, it's just this over the top.
The greatest thing that's ever happened in the history of this organization.
Oh gosh, no one has ever come into this organization who has done as much for you in this, 2 hours you've been here.
You're basically Gandhi.
Yeah. It's sickeningly sweet. It's really important to have a very clear idea of what's appropriate and what's not.
And that's probably measured, too, by your self-esteem to a certain extent, I'm sure. Like, if you're confident enough in a project where you will get praise, not necessarily praise bombing, but praise, then you'll know that's legitimate. And, it's you have to kind of read it yourself.
And you just hit on something so important, Cosmo. This is why individuals who are moving into positions post-abuse, so they were targeted in their previous job and they're entering a new workplace, very susceptible and easily sucked into and vulnerable to praise bombing. And that's not their fault. Remember, the bully's goal is to annihilate your confidence, to take away your self-worth, to take away your skills, to take away your self-esteem, your dignity, all of those things. And when you join a new organization after experiencing workplace abuse, all of those characteristics, they're at an all-time low. Gosh, imagine that person who hasn't had any praise. Imagine the target who's now in a new workplace, having been torn down for months and perhaps even years, gets into a new workplace and they're hearing praise. Oh my gosh, they eat it up. They eat it up, and that's where that clarity kind of goes away, right? Things become very fuzzy and muddy. Who isn't desperate for a compliment after being in a drought and a desert for years? So knowledge and awareness of these topics, that's why we're talking about these. They're not simple topics. Look at, there's a lot going on just with this one particular form of bullying that can slip by anyone so easily, and it's not your fault. It's not. It's the confusion, the emotional erosion that is the impact of psychological abuse.
Yeah, that's a very important point. So, in closing, how do you break this dynamic of praise bombing and the subsequent, I guess you could say, ghosting of any compliments? How do you get out of that cycle of emotional blackmail?
I don't want to be a broken record, but I will. It's that folks who have been abused at work, bullied at work, and when they enter into a new workplace, they need to have a massive support system. And this is something that a lot of people forego. They think that just getting out of the environment is enough. There are so many steps that people need to take from this point. Because of the risks that we just talked about, how vulnerable folks are who have had their nervous systems seriously impacted, almost destroyed, and who have mental health and physical health impacts. There are so many impacts of this abuse, and there is a misconception that just getting out of the environment is enough, and that is not. That is just step one. And I work with clients, some of them I've been working with over a year after they've been out of the abusive environment. And that's because these impacts are very serious and we need to work really hard, not just to heal. And I'm a firm believer in finding a trauma-informed mental health therapist, but also we need to do some recalibration. We need to figure out some of these skills that we need to develop to keep yourself safe and protect yourself from these particular types of tactics. And because I'm a third party, and when I'm talking to my clients, I can see it crystal clear. I can see an imposter leader immediately. I can tell exactly what tactics are being used because I have that clarity that comes with being a third party and knowing and being an expert in this area, whereas people who have been abused, there's a lack of clarity and it's not your fault. You're still in survival mode when you start that new job. So I always say secure support from an individual who is an expert in workplace bullying to help you at least during the onboarding phase, which is at least 3 months. But like I said, I'm still working with clients up to a year after they've started their new role. And it's because there's a lot of work to be done and a lot of recalibration and clarity that needs to happen. And I've had great success over time, and so have my clients with this kind of support.
There you have it. That is praise bombing, emotional blackmail, and how to hopefully stop both.
Breaking the cycle.
Breaking the cycle. Hashtag breaking the cycle.
Thanks, Cosmo.
Feel free to retweet that. Thanks for providing your 2 cents, Lauri.
Thanks, Cosmo. See you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in to Work It Out with Lauri. If today's episode hit home at all, please share it with someone who needs it. And please remember, you deserve to work in peace. Oh, and hey, if you're listening and you're currently a target of a workplace bully and you need help, please feel free to schedule an initial consult with me. It's completely free and completely confidential. I've got your back.
And remember to follow this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Substack. Plus, send us your story or your question at workplacebullyingproject.com.
We'll see you next time, and we'll work it out together.